Welcome to another episode of Alaskan Babble Podcast, where they babble and we gaggle. Van, are you gonna?
Welcome back. Welcome back. We don't gaggle, we just babble.
Well, no, she babbles and we gaggle. I
That's
see.
up for
I see.
debate.
You're still conceptualizing
Yeah.
this. We'll get to this
Yeah,
later.
that's still up for
Yeah.
debate.
Today we're joined by Sarah. God, man.
We're here though.
Today we're joined by Sarah Stevens, who is a academic counselor at Alaska Pacific University, a
Welcome.
professor, and also a lactation specialist.
Welcome.
So today,
Welcome.
today we're going to ask the most important question: Can Van be milked?
Technically, yes.
Oh, good.
Men have all of the same glandular tissue that women have.
Thank you.
Biological men have
Yeah.
all the same glandular tissue that biological women have. What they miss is the hormones that act on that tissue during adolescence and then also during pregnancy and during menstrual cycles. So, biological men can lactate. Typically, it takes spironolactone to suppress testosterone.
Yeah.
And then it takes a course or several courses of estrogen-containing birth control pills. And that, coupled with stimulation like breast pumping, hand expression, things like that, should actually start lactation going.
Are you ready for this, man?
I was just trying to catch to where
He got
I
professional
came
consultants.
yeah, I know. That's why it's hard to challenge.
Yeah.
That's why you asked me that question.
I have actually helped assigned male at birth people lactate.
Really?
Yes.
A friend of mine, dad, also, I guess, was lactating. He had cancer, and they were giving him estrogen, and he grew breast, and then he used to make jokes that he was milking. I don't want to be disrespectful but so here, just so you know, because you may not know. So Tyken asked me that question last week. I believe it was last week.
Yeah, we did a pseudo introduction for you from the last week to this week. Yeah.
And yeah, I told him, yeah, I can. It's not difficult. So I tried to explain it like there's your nipple. And as far as what I could see around your nipple, there's
the areola.
There's little muscles in there, a little bump. You can't really see them until you squeeze. Oh yeah, I can not like squirt. I can't squirt. But yeah, you can make something come out of there.
Yeah.
Those are like little, almost like goosebump looking things.
Yep.
Those are called Montgomery glands or
Montgomery
tubercles.
Yeah,
and I'll give you a little fun fact. Those are there to keep nipple skin healthy, like if you're lactating and directly feeding, because it's your skin's wet a lot. There's a lot of friction on it, so it's like really to keep your skin healthy. However, there's a theory that the substance in there actually smells like a person's amniotic fluid.
Interesting.
And that actually helps the baby find the breast after they're born, because they're homesick. They left that environment, 10, 20, 30 minutes ago. And so they get a whiff of that stuff that's in the Montgomery glands. And that tells them, like, come this way. This feels like home.
It's like putting cookies in the oven.
Exactly.
And then when you open it up, the scent of cookie just lures you right to the nipple.
Yeah, so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. Well, not you. The way it's being put.
Bodies are crazy.
Bodies are crazy.
Bodies. They're wild.
The body is extremely sophisticated, in my opinion. Yeah, the whole men being milk thing is just crazy to think about.
But now we know the answer.
It can't happen.
Now we know the answer. Vans can indeed be milked.
And I used to think it was weird, right? That's why this is an uncomfortable conversation for me. Like as a man, how do you go ask another man, hey, can you squeeze your nipple? And so really interesting. And thank you. That is normal.
It is very normal.
It's very normal.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
I'll show you guys later. It's actually,
So yeah, it's going to be on our supposed Patreon page, where when people pay $5 for the show, we will show them how to milk you.
Yeah, for $5, I will squirt in a jar and mail it to you if we get enough subscribe.
What would we call
likes,
what would we call the podcast, or what would we call this? I'm saying on too much.
Father's Milk.
We'll call it Father's Milk.
Father's Milk.
Is that the product we're gonna put up in shelves? You'll find in cars.
Yeah,
Father's Milk.
Yeah.
Father's Milk. Gotcha.
Follow your nose.
Oh my God. Well, now we're on the topic of milk. You are a lactation consultant.
Yes.
Yes. So before I met you, I'd never heard of a lactation consultant before. And for the viewers out there that don't know what a lactation consultant is, can you describe what a consultant is for lactation?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, a lactation consultant is a clinical specialty that deals specifically with infant feeding.
And I've been to one. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've been to one.
Okay.
I got tons of kids.
Yeah. And was it a good experience for you?
It was relieving to me and probably more helpful to her. The baby wasn't latching. Is that what we're talking about here? I don't want to sound weird to keep saying nipples. Can we say nipples?
There's no reason. Nipple is an anatomical.
So I'm dancing around that word. Why?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reasons why we can't say nipples. We're literally with a lactation consultant.
Yes, I say it all day long.
It's an educational piece.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
this is an educational video.
Would get like dry and hurt, and they helped. Like the baby would chew more than.
Yep.
So that much I know and understand about it.
Excellent. I'm glad you availed yourself of that when you needed it. Yeah. So it's a clinical specialty that it's kind of akin to actually having a master's degree in human lactation. So it's a lot of kind of how babies work, and it's also a lot of like how lactation and parents work, and then a lot about, how it works optimally and how to fix it when things break down. An interesting couple of things about like lactation as a specialty. One of them is that lactation consultants are usually the only clinician that's responsible for both the baby health and the parent health.
Interesting.
So a lot of times people think like, oh, like my obstetrician or my midwife or whatever will be able to help me with lactation. They don't always necessarily have a lot of training in that. Like they're really great with pregnancy and getting the baby out and like the immediate postpartum. But in this culture, we tend to send people home with a baby and be like, good luck with that. And then you don't have a ton of resources, and pediatricians get almost no training in breastfeeding management. So if you go to a pediatrician and you're like, hey, my kid won't latch, or I'm too sore to feed, or like baby's not gaining weight appropriately and we don't know what to do, the answer 9.5 times out of 10 is going to be, well, just feed formula, because they don't really know. They don't really get training in that kind of management. And in addition, and this is kind of going to be like my little feminist part, people treat things that come out of women's bodies like they must be witchcraft, right?
Okay,
Like, I don't know what to do with that milk that comes out of your body. So take this thing that's commercially available that is actually made like in a lab to try to be as close as the thing that comes out of a woman's body as possible.
Nowhere
and
near.
Yet we don't want to deal with the fixing the breakdown in the process of what comes out of a woman's body.
Yeah.
It's much more comfortable and convenient for most healthcare providers to just recommend like, okay, just use the formula. I don't know how to deal with this. This is all woo woo. So that's where the lactation consultant piece comes in.
Interesting.
Is that we can help, kind of, even when things are going optimally, parents need support. Like there's not a lot of support out there.
Absolutely.
And when things are going not optimally, the lactation consultant is often the person who identifies that and then can communicate that both to the parents, but also to the parents' healthcare providers, the infant's healthcare providers, or sometimes a toddler, however old the kid is. And so lactation consultants are supposed to function as part of a team. Much like you, most people don't know like what a lactation consultant does or like why that would be necessary. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, this is just an intuitive thing. And the baby comes out and you pop them on and you feed happily. And unfortunately, it's really one of the hardest parts about having a baby is the lactation part.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of research that says about 80% of providers, so meaning like doctors, midwives, pediatricians, believe that some other physician or doctor or pediatrician, midwife is doing the lactation management. So essentially 80% of people think it's somebody else's responsibility to deal with this. And as a result, most people aren't getting the care that they need. And then there's also a kind of misunderstanding on the part of like the healthcare community in general about what we do. And we think a lot about like La Leche League, which was kind of like formed in the 50s. And it was like sort of a mother to mother support group because breastfeeding really wasn't practiced very often in the 1950s. You know, most people were formula feeding. And so there was this group of women who decided like, hey, we're going to try to reclaim this. And unfortunately, it was a little bit of an anti-feminist sort of like, we're going to try to reclaim this woman's role of, you know, breastfeeding our kids. And breastfeeding your kids, if you choose to do it, is really, really, really beneficial for both the child and the parents.
Yeah. And
it's a bond with the mother and child.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's okay.
It's Saratoga. Oh, no, that's not Saratoga. Yeah.
We'll save that for part 2.
We haven't got to the 20-minute mark yet.
But that, like that La Leche League role was, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Go.
Was volunteer, right? And it was not really like a clinical specialty. It was very much about support. And so I think a lot of physicians think that lactation consultants do this kind of like hand patting, you go, mom, you're doing a good job, when really we can look at like, oh no, you're losing way too much blood. You might have some retained placenta that you need to go back to your provider.
Interesting.
Or, you know, oh, this kiddo has a cleft palate that nobody noticed at any point. So we actually need to make sure that the cleft palate gets addressed so that the baby can generate suction and move milk from parent into him.
Interesting.
And so there's lots of like actual clinical things that lactation consultants are qualified to address. But a lot of healthcare providers don't really know that that's what lactation consultants do.
Do you believe it's because of what the drive is? From what I'm hearing is that it sounds like when it comes to the formula, it's the way I see it, it's all about marketing, right? They want to market so they can produce more.
Oh, yeah.
Which, people have to talk about, should healthcare be socialized or capitalist? And to me, it feels like more of a capitalist thing when it comes to, you have a problem. Well, here's an easy solution. Here's formula, right? And that definitely becomes an inhibitor for any new moms to try to do a naturopathic.
Well, and I think it's like even a little bit more insidious than that, in that human milk doesn't have an advertising budget.
No, it doesn't.
We don't have an advertising budget.
Yeah,
it's free,
and it tastes way better than
it does.
Store-bought milk.
Formula is.
Are you talking about
pretty disgusting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've tasted my own milk.
Absolutely, it's extremely sweet. It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I was actually. She would freeze her milk. And then, within 2 days ago freeze, she's producing more.
Right.
Yeah.
It seemed like every time the baby got close to her, the sprinklers started going off. You know what I'm saying? So instead of throwing those old milks away, I would put them in my protein shakes.
Well, there you go.
It's the best thing for you.
Yeah.
Mother's milk is that's where it is.
Mother's milk.
Like in some like bodybuilding, like Mongolian wrestling circles, like it is a very highly valued like supplement because it's kind of got like the optimal macros, and it's also got lots of, white blood cells and stuff like that in it to keep you healthy. They also use it, interestingly, for like adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis.
Really? Interesting.
Because so your gut when you're a newborn is really porous. Like those cells are not really close together. And the colostrum, the first milk that comes out, actually binds to the inside of the gut.
Interesting.
Plugs up some of those holes. And then it also makes like a pretend, this is so cool. Biology is so cool. Makes like pretend like mock binding sites for harmful bacteria. So essentially the colostrum has all of these little like, kind of plugs that are like, hey, look at me, pick me. And then anything harmful that the baby's attached to can go and find that plug that matches its particular outlet, it binds to that, and then the baby just poops the bacteria out instead of getting sick.
That's interesting.
Do you know what colostrum is?
No.
It's like the pre
what?
Pre-milk.
Yeah.
Pre-milk. Okay.
Yeah,
I was waiting for him to say something stupid.
Well, you thought I was going to say something stupid. Look, I'm a professional. I'm doing my job as a professional. I don't know if you know this, but I don't get paid to do this. So I'm gonna treat this job as any professional would. Call me Mr. Professional.
Mr. Professional.
Sir, Mr. Professional.
But before we lose that about breast milk, what would you prefer breast milk over semi, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's always up to an individual
Right.
choice. The percentage of people who truly cannot breastfeed is pretty small.
Right.
Like maybe 5 to 10%
Right.
of people biologically can't breastfeed.
And is it because of a hormonal balance?
Sometimes it's hormonal, sometimes it's like physical. If people have had, for example, radiation therapy or things like
Interesting.
that, it
Yeah.
kind of kills the lactational tissue. But that said, not everybody wants to breastfeed.
Right.
And that's reasonable, normal. People have lots of reasons for wanting to or not wanting to use their bodies in that way after they have babies. But like I have a master's degree in public health. And so epidemiologically, we would be much better off if breastfeeding were practiced more exclusively for a longer period of time, and also just climate health wise. Like the amount of like environmental insult that comes from the cows that like we need to make the milk, and then the transportation of that milk. A lot of the milk that goes into formula is actually from other countries, so now that milk has to be transported to a factory that can like turn it into formula, and then there's all the packaging, and then there's all of the reshipment out to places, and so it just generates a huge amount of waste. There's a huge amount of climate effects and planet effects from raising the cows and making the formula and using the formula. So
it sounds like, as far as formula making, it maybe even goes translation to your 2% milk out there, that having this cows produce milk for people as a product is actually causing a bigger environmental effect than we may perceive.
And not getting the nutrients.
Right.
Milk. I disagree with milk. When I was coming up, I was always told humans, we shouldn't be drinking cow milk. That's a child of a cow's milk.
Milk is species specific.
So we used to watch like how it's made, I guess is what it's called. And they hook these machines up to the nipples. And so the person doing the interview made a comment like, they're pulling this milk out of them so fast and so much. There's got to be like blood mixed in and all this other stuff because you're kind of hurting the cows.
Yeah.
And then the fear and I guess the cow is upset. That can affect the
quality of the milk.
Yeah. Stress hormones definitely make it into milk, blood, everything.
And not to go a little bit tangent here, but it was really funny. I'm not going to get exactly the timeline right, but the whole got milk ad was because there was such a huge surplus of milk that caused the government was like, wow, we have so much milk now, but we have no way to get rid of it. So the government put on their food and nutrition guide to have more calcium, aka more milk, so they can get rid of milk because there's such a surplus of it. And I think was that Ronald Reagan or was that before Reagan? I believe it was somewhere around that time that they had such a
probably got milk was when I was kind of an older kid, younger teenager, I think. So yeah, I mean, milk is really species specific. So if you think about like different species need to be able to do different things. Like cows and horses need to be able to like get up and actually follow their mother within a few hours of birth. So that milk has a lot of carbohydrate in it because they need those like burnable, expendable calories in order to be able to move really quick. If you look at like denning species like foxes and squirrels and rabbits, their milk is hugely fatty because they kind of cache their babies somewhere. They go feed and then they run around and feed themselves and then they come back a few times a day and feed. So that milk has to digest really slowly. So it has to be really high fat.
That makes sense.
And then, we are carrying species. If you think about us and like, our closest primate relatives, if you look, watch nature shows, baby gorillas don't get put down for the first like 2 years of their lives, right?
No, they
They're
don't.
always
they
being
get
held
latched.
by
Right.
And so our milk doesn't have to be as fatty because babies are intended to have like access as often as they need to because they're already being held by an adult of that species. So drinking milk that was intended for a baby cow, nutrients are good and it does have some things that are beneficial in it, but it's not the optimal sort of nutrition balance.
So what would you recommend?
To drink?
Yeah,
water.
That's water, but as a replacement for milk because milk is a huge
vitamins.
No,
I would say
I'm trying to say the right word. Milk is very much in our culture. Drink milk, got milk.
It is.
It's people always told, I mean, for me, for you, for Van, we would always been told drink milk, drink milk, drink milk. And it goes back to the extra surplus of milk.
Mm-hmm.
But, for people that want to think, well, maybe I shouldn't drink milk because of these reasons, what would be your suggestion for an alternative for milk?
That's a really good question. So I think it is kind of a fiction that kids require milk.
Absolutely.
My kids just were not interested in milk, and they didn't like it. Once they were done with human milk, they were kind of
Absolutely.
done with milk
Even with
altogether.
chocolate milk?
Chocolate milk's actually better for you than white milk.
Really?
Nutritionally, yes.
Interesting.
I have no
So
idea.
Allison, she'll get, I guess, the protein content is higher or
Interesting.
whatnot in chocolate milk. To my understanding, even her doctor said chocolate milk would be better than regular milk.
Yeah.
So, and then we also thought almond milk was the thing. It's man-made. That's not.
Well, is almond milk is man-made because of the way they make almond milk, right? It's not that the almonds themselves, the way that they milk it, because I know Megan made almond milk quite a bit of times through
Naturally, out of some almonds is probably better for you
That's what I'm
than what's
saying.
being sold
If
out.
we're talking about the difference between manufactured
There
almond
you go.
milk and naturally made almond milk from the source itself, I wouldn't say that almond milk itself is bad. I mean, it just depends on the source you get it from.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has kind of the qualities that they prefer if they're going to do like some kind of substitute milk.
Right.
And there are thankfully like a lot of different options. So like hemp milk actually tastes the most like cow milk if you use it to make like a hemp milk.
Hemp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like you can make a cheese sauce or something like
we're
that.
talking
And
like
it's kind of
marijuana
got
milk
like
for
the
a
right
second.
amount of tang
Yeah.
in it to like be able to make a cheese sauce
Sure.
or, a fake cheese sauce.
Yeah.
And oat milk is kind of easiest on the environment and because oats are just not very environmentally taxing.
Yeah.
So I think that whatever the quality is that you're looking for in a milk substitute, if you are, there is probably a milk substitute for that, and it's totally fine and appropriate to drink that stuff. Again, like the more processed it is, the less good it probably is for you. And it's got lots of stuff in it to keep it fresh so it can be shipped long distances and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also fine to just leave it out altogether.
Yeah, and that leads me to another interesting discussion. From what I've noticed so far, I would say between year 2020, 2025, especially in Alaska, people are wanting to grow their own source of food. They want to start doing more of let me prepare it myself instead of going to the store.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I want to say is the FDA is not very good when it comes to how they process and how they regulate food. And people are kind of realizing that food that is put in the stores are more poisonous to you than one would realize too. Right. So people are thinking to themselves, well, if I can't trust the food I find at the supermarket, I should just grow my own food.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Alaskans especially have lots of reasons for wanting to do that, right? We know that if our supply chain is cut for more than 3 or 4 days,
We're screwed.
we're gonna
hurt.
really struggle.
Yeah. I think F and D shouldn't even be in bed together.
FND.
FDA.
Oh, like
FDA.
Food and Drug.
Food and Drug.
Mhm.
Yeah, that doesn't even make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, and I also think that, as things come out about like how food in the stores is handled, sometimes we get revelations that we're like, oh, I had no idea. Like when I don't know, I think the Guardian or something had a story a few years ago about how chicken that's packaged in the US is sprayed with chlorine bleach. I had no idea. Of course, that's not on the package. Man. And then I was like, do I really want to eat that? I'm not sure I do.
Yep.
And then, when I look at bagged salad and then I look at like something that I grew or just lettuce that I bought that didn't come in a bag.
It's different.
I wonder, like, okay, how does it stay fresh in that bag for so long? It has to have some kind of antimicrobial stuff on it. And, I honestly prefer not to eat that stuff. So I understand people wanting to grow their own food.
Well, it's so difficult because I know there's a lot of people that want to grow food, but the space to grow the food is hard. Right. It requires a lot of time, a lot of effort. And let's just face it, there's more of a convenience going to the superstore than growing your own food.
Right. It's true.
And that's the difficult part is that we're so accustomed for food being handed to us instead of what we were traditionally have done in the past, which is hunting and gathering.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have just either lost or never had that connection to kind of where food comes from.
Yeah.
And I know, like, thankfully, my parents were both farm kids.
There you
And
go.
so, we had a garden when I was growing up. And when I was little, I can honestly tell you, I was so bored by the garden and the idea of gardening and why is this a value? And, I didn't really get it. And as I've aged, I get it a lot
I think it
more.
comes with age, the understanding of how knowledge applies to your everyday life, I would say.
Hmm.
Like, I would say things that I thought 20 years ago were just, well, I will say 20 years ago, 13, well, maybe a little bit less than that. Things I would say in the past were irrelevant to me. I'm finding it more relevance now as I get older. And I'm really thinking to myself, well, what am I putting in my body? It's like when Van invited me over last Saturday for burgers. So it's like, oh, well, how about he told me, why would you go out to a store where you have no idea how the food is prepared when you know it from the source?
Hmm.
And that's really what it comes down to, is that we never know where the source is coming from.
Right.
Like, I can even say when I go to South America and I ate food,
Mm-hmm.
it's completely different
Oh,
in
yeah.
every single
Yeah.
way. And when I came back to America, I was nauseous.
Yeah.
Like, I was nauseous
Mhm.
after I
Yeah.
ate the food coming
Right.
back because my body got so used to, I would say, non-processed
Right.
food versus
Yeah.
here where everything's extremely processed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's a really common experience for visitors to the US to, like, kind of question, like, why do I not feel well, right?
Yeah.
What's going on with the food here, even
Yeah.
if it's not highly processed food, right? Even if they're not going to Burger King or something like that, if they're actually picking it up in the grocery store and making it,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's a little bit of a lack of transparency about
I would
what might
absolutely
be
agree
in
with that.
stuff. And I really love when I go to stores in other countries and, like, sometimes the country of origin is listed on in the grocery
Yeah.
store and I can be like, "Ooh, do I want, oranges from thousands of miles away or do I want oranges from tens of miles
Right.
away? I'll take the oranges from tens of
Exactly.
miles away."
Yeah.
Which I really
Mhm.
appreciate, it's the initiative Alaskan Grow,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
supporting your local farmers,
Yeah.
which, I know there's a lot of heat with Don Levy when it comes to the Department of Agriculture that he wants to put up as
Mhm.
well, which, I mean, I'll be fully transparent. I have not read as much as I probably should have to really make an opinion about the Department of Agriculture.
Kind of hard when it's paywalled.
It's kind of hard when it's paywalled. Yeah, the A&D needs to do
Yeah.
something about that. So, I would say the idea of Alaska having their own networking when it comes to food and the
Mhm.
food sources is pretty important. And I would say, I mean, if there's, I mean, I don't know the logistics. I mean, I don't trust Don Levy very much at all. So, I think the idea, at least to say the minimum, of having an agricultural department so we can be able to source our own food and have our own food grown so we're not so reliant on chains to bring our food over here is a vastly important thing, especially since we're isolated from the lower 48.
Have you guys noticed that the actual selection of food that is available in the stores has gotten so much narrower in the past few
Absolutely.
years?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm in that business,
Yeah.
Yeah?
so don't ask me any
Okay.
questions
I
about
won't ask you any questions about it. But
that.
so I admittedly, like, this, I really like food is kind of my jam. I love to
Mm-hmm.
cook. I have a garden.
Mm-hmm.
I just really like food. I
Mm-hmm.
like feeding people. I like the social
Absolutely.
experience of
So where's our
food.
food
Absolutely.
over here?
I know,
You
right?
didn't
Absolutely.
bring any brownies?
Absolutely.
And so, I often have a pretty complicated grocery list because
Yeah.
food is also my recreation, right? I'll
Yeah.
come home from work and what I really want is like some good music and a glass of wine and a couple hours
Absolutely.
in the
Get
kitchen
on the
and
vinyls.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
so I usually have a pretty complicated grocery list, and I often have to go to more than one grocery store to kind of get everything that I want
Absolutely.
to make food for the week. And that's always been the case. Like, we lived in kind of rural Wyoming before we moved to Alaska, and it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely improved living in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
But just in the past maybe couple of years, I've found that it's really hard to get sometimes even ordinary normal. Like, I know some of the
Absolutely.
things that I want are sort of niche things, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm like, can I just like find a head of garlic that doesn't look like crap and cost a
Right.
dollar
Right.
fifty?
And that's
Right.
so true.
And
Right.
That's absolutely true.
I've learned you have to hit the little hole in the wall spots.
Yeah.
I use Nusagaya. I mean, you're gonna pay a little more, but Nusagaya's produce. The way this works in let's just say produce is when these deliveries are coming in into Cisco, Charlie's Produce. These are our main produce people bringing it in. Um, it's on a truck. I don't know if you know what a bulkhead is, but it separates
Yeah, I know what
things
it
in the
is.
trailer. The conventional is mixed with the unconventional, which no longer makes the conventional once it shares air.
Right.
Right.
There's that, and then what I noticed from when I was in produce is a lot of the stuff like coming in from Washington. Alaska gets the older lot numbers than the newer lot numbers, if that makes sense. It's like they're shipping out the stuff that's got 2 weeks before expiration to us. And they're keeping the better products, shipping them elsewhere.
That is a really interesting and helpful piece of information because it does reflect like my consumer experience too, of like sometimes it's kind of half compost by the time it
Absolutely.
gets
Now that's just really
into my
that's
house.
really spooky to think about. Is that by the time the food is put into your fridge, it's pretty much compost rather than fresh
But
food.
the converse is that like if we were to eat just seasonally or locally, right? What we could get seasonally and locally, our diet in Alaska would be pretty stinking narrow. And I really like the ability, like I struggle with this. I don't want like peaches that come from South America in January, right? Like I
Yeah.
really try not to engage that.
Right.
I try to eat as seasonally as I can.
Right.
But even as seasonally as I can, like winter squash doesn't grow up here. Our growing season isn't long enough.
Right.
The stuff that's in season in fall, we can do carrots and potatoes and maybe like some turnips and
Right.
stuff like that. But our diet would be really, really narrow if we didn't rely on the supply chain to bring stuff
But
in.
maybe that's the point though, is, we talk about a lot of, there's a lot of obese people, me including, right? And I believe it's because we're so used to having things given to us. In the past we didn't have that given us. We had to go out to find it. And probably I would say that narrower diet of having seasonal food may be better for us as
I think we are
people.
fat and spoiled,
I would agree.
lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we have hungry people on the street? Like, we throw away so much food on a daily basis. It's scary.
Yeah.
And the grocery stores, when the produce goes bad, they give it to a certain company here. And they make biodiesel out of it and sell it back to us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would have not thought of that. Well, even if last Wednesday, I went to talk to one of my participants where they spoke about the homeless shelters giving them old moldy food, right? Which is a huge problem too as well, right? Especially when a lot of food is being thrown away. And I would say that they're not exactly expired, so you could go ahead and give it to people that need it. Maybe that will solve a lot of the food crisis for those who can't
It will
have
slow
food.
down a lot of theft. Theft is through the roof right now. Walmart A Street, for instance, is on the verge of becoming a online shopping.
Wow.
They may shut that down. We know they shut down the Gamble Safeway.
Yeah.
They shut down the Mountain View Holiday. All that traffic moved into Boniface and the bar.
Yeah.
So right across from Russian Jack, now they're threatening to close 1809, which is that Safeway on Boniface, and the Holiday across the street from.
Wow.
$70,000 a month in theft ever since they shut down the Holiday in Mountain View.
That's so interesting. So, in your opinion, is the theft predominantly driven by food insecurity?
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be slowed dramatically if we found a way to distribute. I'd rather give somebody a loaf of bread and they got to cut a corner off opposed to them dumpster diving. And who knows what they eating at that point. And then I think there's 2 or 3 types of people out there. Some are they just want to go steal. And then now we have laws that don't stop them and stores can't touch them. So it's like, why not for some?
Yeah, there's no deterrent. There's no deterrent anymore.
So I get credits. Well, we credit out expired shelf life product, but it's the food's still good. So, and we just toss it. So one time I drove into Beans Cafe and opened the back of my truck and let them have at it.
Nice.
Granted, they threw all the trash in front of the police station and all around there. So it was all of our products. Looked like we just let the trash can blow over. I got in so much trouble because my company, they got afraid that if someone ate whatever product I gave them and said they got sick, then they could sue.
That's the thing too, is a lawsuit happiness is happiness. Is that the best way to put it? It's so easy to sue someone these days for the most minuscule thing as well. So companies are more, I would say, arguably they may, and this is just my head thoughts here, is that they may be less generous too, because if something were to happen, well, they'll be liable as well.
So to push back on that a little bit, though, just for like this particular instance, in that like most of the time when people are reliant on food banks, shelters, gifted food, things like that, first, I think that person is probably unlikely to sue just because they are reliant on that stream of food. But also, and this is an unfortunate thing, most of the people who are in the position of being reliant on shelters and food banks and gifted food probably don't have the social capital to bring a lawsuit.
No, and I absolutely agree with that. And I'm not saying that the individual themselves are sue happy. That's not what I'm saying.
Right, but the perception from the company perspective.
From the company. That's what I'm saying, is that the perception from the company, they don't want to take that risk. Right. Yeah. That's the way I see it. I don't think individuals that are homeless want to go rob Happy and then sue anyone they can find. They're just trying to survive at the end of the day. But the company will probably see it as like, well, if something were to happen, then we'll be sued, and then we have to get our lawyers in, and then we're going to do a payoff, and then there's the settlement.
You just need a paper trail, and then you are okay at that. Right. But again, I think there's 2 and 3 different kinds of groups. The people who actually utilize these programs and the givings, you don't hear from them.
Yeah.
It's the people who think they deserve more, and then you get the people trying to take advantage, and then the third is the mental health people that
absolutely.
Yeah. It's just that won't be addressed by food security, but food security is a component for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Too Good to Go?
No, I've never heard of that.
So Too Good to Go is an app that is like really like Alaska companies don't participate in it, unfortunately. But a lot of places in the lower 48 do. And it's for like restaurants, grocery stores, places that have like hot food service that can't that has to be discarded at the end of the day.
Yep.
And like food that would ordinarily get thrown out can be put on Too Good to Go for like a really inexpensive amount,
isn't it?
Well, no, it just like so for example, my kids both live in Providence, and Providence is a huge restaurant city. And so you can look at Too Good to Go and see like what places have stuff that's available for that day. And sometimes it's amazing. You can pay like, $6 and get like a bag of groceries that would otherwise be tossed out. Or, go to a place that serves hot food, and like there's an Italian place where they got like 2 or 3 different kinds of pizza, like some meatballs and things like that for like, $6 or $7.
Wow.
So it kind of like I think it's a really good model. And of course I don't know all of the pitfalls involved on the backside of that, but it avoids food waste, which is obviously good.
Yeah.
It allows people who have a lot more limited financial means to access food that they ordinarily wouldn't be able to access. And it also recaptures a little bit of revenue for stores that might be throwing that out or like asking for credit for expired merchandise. I would love to see more retailers and more restaurants in Alaska participating in Too Good to Go.
Yeah, that's a really cool.
I do know some restaurants here, not to call them out. So let's say you got the burgers are pre-made. We all know that, right? So these burgers sit in this hot case for a number of hours, And right before it's time to throw them out, they chop them up and put chili sauce on them.
Totally.
Sell them right back to you as a chili burger or a bowl of chili. If we know the restaurants that give you chili.
Interesting.
The bigger restaurants, they'll take, a bird when it didn't sell all day, chop it down, and now that's toppings over a salad. That goes on a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was growing up, it was like pre-seasoned catfish at Safeway. It was like, oh, it tastes really good, but you probably shouldn't eat it because that is the catfish that is like on the verge of going off. And then they put a bunch of spices on it and sell it to you that way.
I tell everybody, if you can enter these box stores from the back door, you probably wouldn't shop there.
Yeah. Believe it.
You can imagine what I see in these stores.
Yeah.
I was in the valley when Fred Meyer's out in Wasilla had right after the earthquake we had a few years back. I don't know, it just shook all of the shrews or whatever out of the ground. And it was like they were eating all the candy, dog food. I was distributing bread at that time. So I would go grab a stack. It's on a roller rack of bread. As soon as I touch it, there's like 10 of them flying out of there.
Oh, that's disgusting, man.
It was, they should have shut that store down and they didn't.
Well,
and then another thing, sorry, it just came back to me. Sorry.
No.
Another thing about the milk is when I used to long haul loads, the loads would shift. So one time I had to slam on my brake because somebody will cut you off. And my milk load shifted. So when I opened the back doors to get ready to pull into the receiving area, like 2 pallets of milk fell out. We had to rope off where the milk was and call the state to come clean it up. We couldn't touch it.
Oh, interesting. So why the state specifically?
It was poison control.
Oh.
They had to come contain it and clean up 2 pallets of milk out of the driveway. Nobody could touch it. We couldn't put water on it, nothing.
Why poison control? That's so interesting.
Don't have any idea.
Odd.
Yeah.
Very odd.
They have to document in a grocery store, like in the back room, if a jug of milk explodes, they can't just go grab a mop and clean it up. Like management has to get involved to contain it off. Why? I don't know.
Wow.
There's I could think of a couple conspiracies here, but
I'm just so interested in like the sort of behind the scenes workings of grocery. I had no idea some of this stuff.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It is they do a good job of making the front look good, but
not the back.
No. And pay attention when you go into some of these grocery stores. There's more people on the chip and soda aisle than produce.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can believe that. Yeah, I can absolutely believe that.
And then you have this makes no sense to me. You have a health food section in every store, right?
Yeah.
So what is the rest of the store?
It's processed and full of chemicals, right? Organic, which for some reason I will never agree with it, is that it's just more expensive to buy organic because it's fresher and there's less chemicals. So
that's just what they tell you.
I was gonna say I'm not even sure it's fresher or has less chemicals. It's
You think it's just a label?
I don't think it's intentional deceit. But I think that the process of getting like an organic certification is long. It's expensive. Really, only like bigger companies that have lots of revenue at their disposal can afford organic certification. And so, the carrots that are being sold to you as organic carrots probably are grown without pesticides or the things that are forbidden. Are they nutritively better for you? Not necessarily. Like for me, like for my like values about food, I prefer local to organic.
Absolutely.
Even if it's, a smaller producer that maybe can't afford or hasn't gotten organic certification. If I know it came from 40 miles away instead of 4,000 miles away, I feel like it's probably fresher. It's probably got more nutrients in it. It was probably harvested closer to its ready to eat date, not necessarily harvested early and cold stored so it didn't rot before it got to my table. And that's just my food values.
No, I imagine that's how the big companies do it. They are like hey, we got to pay more for these oranges from Peru, like you said, or somewhere. Oh, we'll call them organic.
Yeah.
We have to recomp that money. But the ones we get from California, we'll just push those through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Half a rotten bag, somebody will still buy it. I think another big problem of it is, and I don't want to say it wrong, but we are losing the older and experienced, knowledgeable people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes down to just knowledge not being passed down or people not really wanting to care about knowledge.
Well, these younger people don't care anymore. It's just a phone, and it's a right. We're in a right now society, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants it right.
Well, that's consumerism.
Yeah.
That's consumerism at its finest, right? And that's something that we're so used to, is having things right now at the hands of our palm instead of trying to, critical think about how things work and how to make a product out of it, I suppose is the best way. That's probably the wrong word, but because we're a society that wants things now,
Right.
we're losing the ability to take a step back and really rationalize how everything functions the way they're supposed to.
Well, I think if you don't know, then
you shouldn't play with it. It's just like in Jurassic Park where Dr. Malcolm states to the scientists that, oh yeah, well, you made dinosaurs, but you didn't deserve the knowledge to learn how to make dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like having a gun that's loaded and using it as a play toy.
Right.
So I have, this is a really interesting topic to me, and I have lots of questions and lots of thoughts about it. But you're a parent. Like, have you tried to combat that in your own family, in your own parenting? And if you have, how did you do it, and was it successful?
I had to do it first. So the stuff we're talking food, right?
Just the sort of culture of right now, and the culture of kind of entitled to have what I want when I want it, no waiting, or like, the phone obsession.
Right. Well, I think I have a old soul, I guess. I was raised by my grandfather. You can't control anything that they do. I've learned, like, I wasn't kidding when I said I just cut them loose. But I don't, I think the more you tell these kids today no, the more they're going to want to do it. Like, if my kids wanted to drink or smoke weed, or that's what they're doing, I gave them the option a long time ago. You can do it at home and let me monitor it. Again, I told the story in the last interview we did. When I first met my wife, I walked into her house and they were dropping F-bombs. And I'm standing there waiting for one of the parents to just come around the corner, but it was accepted only in the house. Same here. But they will not say it, do it. They won't party. They won't bring friends over. And I'm telling them, go play. Go break a arm. Go to jail.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But they won't. I did everything against how I was raised.
That is so funny because I think I am super similar in that way.
Yeah.
I was raised in a very authoritarian house. You do not break the rules. And what that taught me was to lie, to break the rules. And also that I didn't have any kind of trusted adults or any kind of foundation that I could fall back on if I messed up.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I both were like full disclosure from our kids, with our kids from, birth onward, pretty much.
Absolutely.
These are the things I did. These are the things that turned out okay, but maybe they wouldn't have. And, words are just words. Understand that you can say anything you want in the house. If you use these words at school, there might be different consequences.
Absolutely.
Same thing with alcohol, drugs, things like that. I was just like, this is a house where it is okay to learn your limits. And, we've given them the benefit of our wisdom, right? Like, probably more than 2 drinks on an occasion, maybe not a good idea, but, figure it out, have a safety plan, whatever. And then also call me if you need a ride. Call me if you get into a mess.
I get drunk in front of my kids and say, don't be like this.
my kids, like,
don't do this now. But
it's 10 o'clock somewhere.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I think a choice is
it's the power of choice.
Choice is huge. Like you were saying about the got milk, right?
Yeah.
We're a little older than you.
No. No
Oh,
way.
absolutely.
I don't
I
believe that.
remember when the TV was shut off in America, the bandstand was.
Yeah, you'd get
You don't remember
the
that, do
test
you?
pattern.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All night. And then dun, 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 up
Yeah.
until the news came on the next morning. But so just like you were saying about the got milk thing and the mustache, cigarettes were glorified heavily. They would put a
Absolutely.
beautiful woman on
Yeah.
there or a cowboy. Look how many people chose not to smoke cigarettes.
Well, that's actually a really funny thing too, because even alcohol consumption is less in the Gen A than it's ever been in the other generations before. And it's because I would arguably say is that the next gen, I think alcohol is going to go the way of cigarettes, right? Is that less people are going to probably consume alcohol as it goes because they're realizing that alcohol is not as good for you. That, well, it's never been good for you, but the newer generations are more realizing that do I really want to go to the bar and spend $120 and get wasted with my friends?
I think the newer generation, they get their fix off of likes and comments.
Yeah, no, it's that dopamine rush, right?
Yeah.
And it just comes down to, it's, when you were both talking about your parenting, which is something I really admire about the both of you, right? And I'm not a parent, right? So I can't really talk about it. But the way I see it, I see two different types of kids, right? There is those kids that are let way too loose. And then there's those kids that were gripped way too hard, right? The kids that are loose and don't have like parental authority, they just go wild, right? But for those kids that were held way too tight, they're going to go wild later on and probably even worse because they were never tested with their limits.
Right.
This is exactly as you said. So once they're free from the house, the parents will probably be like, well, they learned from us the best they can. So they're going to do exactly how we raise them. But that's generally not the truth, because when you hold too tight, when you hold this fist in, and then they're off their own brains, they're going to do everything,
Right.
everything that you told them not to do.
Right.
Right. And that's why I really like the way your parenting style is that, look, if you're going to do things that are probably not the best for you, do it in front of me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's at the end of the day, choice is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
And if you give that choice and you give the full disclosure of what's going to happen and how things are going to work and the pitfalls,
Right.
I would say you did your job. Right.
I think you can catch if and I don't know if I'm doing it right or what's going to happen later, but if you catch them early, and this is, I think, every kid, and you start instilling that into them early, you'll reshape. So I've never spanked my kids, right? Every time they got in trouble, like, my kids are spoiled, so I buy them things just so I can take it away. Like, I'll take Tristan's girlfriend if he pisses me. I swear. It works every time. Like, house first. If this house is not clean, your girlfriend can't come over here.
It's just like in Step Brothers, right? Well, what if
Rub my nuts on your drum?
what if they look at what if she looks at the old bull and thinks, well, what if they want the one?
Yeah. No, that he don't like but when I used to talk to him and they would get in trouble, like, it's hard to talk to a kid, looking up at you.
Yeah.
Hey, so I would get down and talk to them.
Totally.
And they would understand it
You're
better.
gonna go on your hands and knees again?
No.
I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know, there's so much like nonverbal communication, right? Of getting down to a kid's level instead of towering over them, which is intimidating, right?
Absolutely.
And so it implies that like power and, using language that like allows your kids to also express themselves, to like actually tell you without consequence what they're experiencing is so powerful. And I think that a lot of people your age and my age weren't parented that way, right? So we're kind of changing. But I think I started out in parenting sort of reflexively doing how it was done with me.
Right.
And it actually took some experiences of like, this is not working. Like, okay, we need to reevaluate. Like, this is the only way I know how to do this. I actually had an event with one of my kids when he graduated from high school, and he and his friends were going on a road trip, and they wanted to drive to McCarthy at like 11 p.m. And, they had been out. I don't think any of them had been drinking or smoking weed or anything like that. But even so, it's not really a great idea to jump in the car and drive to
Absolutely.
McCarthy at 11
Absolutely true.
p.m.
Absolutely.
And, he was 18 years old and he was pretty confident of himself. And he told me this was the plan. And I said, no.
Yeah.
And he said, are you saying no to me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I never said no.
Right.
Like anytime
Interesting.
something was a bad idea
Right.
or it was a conversation, right? It was
Right.
like, well, let's talk this through and figure out why, is this a good idea? Is this not? What are the pros and cons? There, and my older child has said, like, it's really hard to get in trouble when there are no like absolute rules.
Right.
Right.
Which I didn't set it up that way, but she made a good point that like she was a really great kid and she was never in trouble, but that's because there weren't really rules to violate. There were just like, we treat each other with
Cautionary
respect
tales,
and
yeah.
So anyway, when my younger child said like, "Are you saying no to me?"
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if this escalates, I got nothing.
Right.
I've got nothing. I have no way to prevent him from doing it.
Right.
I've never established authority in that way. I like I was winging it because I really did not know how that was going to go. And there was every possibility that he and his friends were going to be like, forget what my parents think. We're just going to go.
Right.
Right.
Thankfully, it didn't go that way. And actually, that night that they had been planning to go, and then they waited until the morning, somebody on that road hit a moose and actually had a fatal car crash.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
so, I didn't even have to point out the object lesson in that because it was pretty clear. They
Yeah,
passed the
absolutely.
accident.
I mean, a bad way to say I told you so, but
Yeah.
I mean, how that's deep.
But, just having those, and he left from McCarthy, like not speaking to me. He was real angry with me. And like, I just didn't have that much conflict with my kids when they were growing up because I wasn't authoritarian, because it was always safe to like renegotiate the rules or whatever. And so that was a really uncomfortable moment for me and clearly for him as well. Yeah.
I think today, with today's I think ever since 2000, and I've asked this question a few times, like, we know the difference between the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. It seemed like ever since 2000, everything just kind of flattened out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like it just flowed into each other.
It's kind
up
of like
until now.
It's like what I said to you on, I think, 3 podcasts ago when we talked about it. Is because we're living in the 2000s. Like, I think there's a defining moment in the early 2000s, which would be 9/11, that caused a lot more parental. And we were going through the parent thing. Parents became more afraid after 9/11. There was a stranger danger, so kids were not going out playing with other kids as much anymore as they used to. Then we had which I would say also, if we go from the early 2000s to the mid 2010s, we have Facebook and social media that really, really marked its territory when it came to how Gen A kids are as right now. Because for my generation, your generation too, we didn't have, well, for me, I was a bridge between technology and analog, right? And Gen A is all technology, and or let's say Gen A, I meant Gen Z. Gen Z is all about technology. Gen A is all about technology. So they never had that world where they didn't have analog, where they didn't have the constant information on your phone. And even now, which I would say is a huge problem. I read a really good book which was called The Anxiety Generation by Jonah Hart, which I'm not sure if you know him. Well, he's a really good writer. And he talks about how technology has really affected the mental health of these younger generations because of expectations that they have now that we don't have when we were growing up, right? And I would say it's over sexualization, like um, when it comes to especially for females, they have to look a certain way because they have, which has always been a problem, right? But it's more of a problem, I say now, because of Snapchat, there's all these different apps that causes, over sexualization and instant gratification that we didn't have before. And now we're to the point where, this is now hardwired. I would say it's more hardwired into these younger generations' brains than whatever was with us, because we adapted to it. They were born into it. So there's a distinct difference into it, I would say. Right.
I think that, like, kind of one of the things that you may have been getting at is that there were sort of, like, you said, kind of defining characters for different sort of generations or time
Absolutely. I
periods.
mean, it
So,
was
like,
everything. So the last time we talked about that, we kind of just went right into social media.
mhm.
But I'm talking everything. Clothing,
Yeah.
um, cars,
Mhm.
hmm
um,
It's the
I
cultural. What's the
think
yeah,
cultural
that
marks?
like your information sources now are so much wider
right.
that, for example, I don't know how old you are. I'm 52, not brand new.
I'm not too far behind.
And so, like, for me, like, you heard the music that was on the radio.
Mm.
And then maybe, as I got a little bit older, and then I would hear like kind of more alternative stuff. I grew up in California and I
Same here.
kind of a bit outside of in the
Same
East
here.
Insane.
Bay,
I'm from
outside of
Southern
Berkeley.
Cali. Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Carmel
from Northern
Valley.
California. And so then it was like, oh, college radio
Mm-hmm.
stations. And now I have access to a little bit different kind of
Mm-hmm.
music. And then, oh, maybe, I'm going to model the way I dress after like people that I
Mm-hmm.
see on these album covers or things like that. But the diffusion of information was really narrow. And so, like, my
Yep.
husband is a couple of years older than me, and he grew up in Eastern Washington in a pretty rural community. And so I can show him, like, oh, these are concert stubs from all of these concerts that I went to
Yep.
when I was growing up. And he's like, we didn't have access to any of that. And like, we ended up kind of with similar taste in music by the time we got to
Mm-hmm.
college age.
Interesting.
But I arrived there much differently because I had access to different information sources than he did. And I think that things like Spotify and Facebook and Snapchat and things like that have like diffused the information sources so much that it kind of has diluted down some of those very defining characteristics, which might actually be a good thing,
I think they
know?
changed the
How?
frequency.
Sorry, not to cut you out. How would that be a good thing? Is it so people can gain their own sense of identity instead of cultural identities telling them how they should be?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there are definitely negatives, right? Like when I had a question about like, ooh, how do I shave my legs? I went to my cousins or, somebody like that. I didn't go to, whatever social media source and realize like, oh, I'm not supposed to have a bush anymore or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sorry if you have to edit that out.
No,
Um,
it's not going to be edited
Shut
out.
up, Bush.
right. But
That's where we met.
but yeah, so like, my information inputs were the people who were doing things similarly to me, but that was also very divisive. So for
Mhm.
example, I was definitely kind of a punk rock kid,
Mhm.
and there were people that I went to school with or people that I encountered in my life that were shut off to me because
Mhm.
their music tastes were different, and therefore their styles of dress were
Mhm.
different,
Sure.
and therefore their social group was different. And with more information sources now, and without those kind of almost like mutually exclusive groups of people, I think it's become a little bit easier, hopefully, to transcend some of that stuff. Like, I have
Interesting.
met people who would never have spoken to me in high school that I
Right.
went to high
This is
school
true.
with. That now I'm
Absolutely.
like,
Right.
why did we never speak to each other? You're
Right.
actually a really like awesome human,
It's
and
the
I wish I
clicks.
had
It's
known
all about the
you.
clicks.
But
Yeah.
my outward characteristics and or their outward characteristics made that a non-starter for us.
Well, if you
I think
really
mental
think,
development helps too.
yeah, it
For
does.
sure.
That's why kids have to be on the or get off the insurance at 26,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, because now you got a fully developed brain.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
can think different.
absolutely. I mean, it's all about
Your foot don't
clicks.
want to do this anymore. I think a lot of what you deal with now, like where are the girls gone wild kids at?
Yeah.
They're still there. They're still there. It's just
So
in a different format these days.
you know, those children are the parents of the new children
Mhm.
that had these kids young because they were introduced to, sexualization
Yeah,
back then.
Mhm.
Like it was a thing then.
I promise you, they're still there, but probably not in the format that we're used to. But you're absolutely right. And even going back to what you're saying, transcending and having more, I'm guessing the word is inclusivity with different groups of people, right?
Yeah.
And the reality, the way I see it, is that humans by nature, and I think this is something we're starting to grow out of, it comes down to tribalism, right? We want to
Oh, I hope
stay
we're starting to grow out of
where
that. I'm
we
not sure I
want to
feel that
stay
way.
with
I think people are
we
waking
want to
up.
stay with our own group of people, right?
Mhm.
And that comes to, I would say, a sense of survival, right?
What
Because
group?
Well,
because we're all one group.
Yeah,
right?
We're
Human
disagree.
beings.
I'm saying as a society, right? I'm not saying it as, this is how I feel the way we are. I'm just saying as in a societal standpoint, right? We like to be in groups that we are more accepted from, right? We want to stay within groups that we're accepted in. And every group has their cliques,
Absolutely.
And that just comes down to, it's like, well, this individual person has a problem with that individual person, right? So we have to be against this individual group because they're in that group, right? And I would say this is that it seems like a lot of that is starting to, even from what I noticed from my high schoolers, right? That kind of is starting to dissipate more and more.
I hope you're right. I hope that the kids are getting it more right than some of the people our ages have gotten, because I
believe they are.
agree that that it comes down to what you define as your tribe.
Right.
Right.
I think they need to. We're gonna have to change the frequency again.
Tune to K-pop.
So think about it like this: my grandparents in that era, they were having 14, 15, 16 kids and staying together.
Yeah.
The music was, soul music and love, and everybody's dancing and partying. And then, from there, this just how I was brought up. From there came rap.
Yeah.
And then gangster rap. And then I think it just reshaped this whole. We went from high frequency sounds, live music, to this 808 drum that I think does something inside of these kids who can't, process that.
Yeah.
Like, where are bells? When's the last time you seen a bell?
In music?
Period. Where are they? Like, bells used to ring. That was a frequency. There's no more bells.
That's so interesting.
That's
Do
a very
you
interesting way to
think
go.
that that really relentless drum frequency
Absolutely.
releases some kind of
Absolutely.
cortisol, stress hormone, something like
Absolutely.
that?
I would
Or is
absolutely say
it
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because even if you think music, right? Music is a stimulant, right? And I absolutely can hear where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
Because if even I don't like necessarily like gangster rap music, because especially when you're talking about the drums, like.
Well, I mean, listen, you're not going to mosh pit to Celine Dion.
No, you're not.
No,
but you're right, because music can release certain stimuli, right?
Vibration.
Music,
Okay.
yeah, vibration. Like, I think
Sit back
music
right
is
now.
vibration.
Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and go, and tell me how you feel after a couple minutes of doing that. You're going to be all kind of disoriented for a minute when you're just the vibration.
Yeah,
I think that can heal you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is this is really interesting to me, because I have had people in my life that I feel like are addicted to the anger hormone, or the feeling that goes with the anger hormone. And they cannot detox themselves from that enough to be able to listen to a human who might be different, or bond with a human that might be different.
We're talking a man or a female? Because I can explain that.
It's a man that I'm thinking of.
So most men don't understand. We talked about this the last interview too. There's two sides to the brain. There's a masculine and a feminine. Most men don't like using the feminine side of their brain. They're afraid to cry. They're afraid to share their feelings. And the masculine side is always pissed off.
Yeah.
The feminine side is where you can learn how to say sorry or excuse me or show affection. And I think that, my personal opinion, I think most men don't like using the feminine side of it.
It's a societal construct, and that's the way I see it. And I told you this, I talked about it last episode. It's all about a societal construct of how men are supposed to be and how they're supposed to feel. If you go from the 20s to the 20s through 80s, I think it's more recent development that stoicism is not as hyped up as it should be. Because stoicism is supposed to show strength, dignity, honor. And we're realizing more and more that what's happening to men is that we're actually suppressing the parts we're not supposed to suppress because society's telling us to suppress it.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's really an interesting, yes, and it's an interesting idea that like the frequencies are like changing the sort of chemical, what we're bathed in, right? What our brains are bathed in.
Right.
And I'm wondering if you have any observations about like how that event or that thing that you've observed actually influences people's interactions with one another, because that's a little bit opposite of what we've been saying, that like now that there's so much cultural diffusion that people can access stuff that isn't necessarily what their peers are doing and still have peers and peer influences. But if somebody is like really kind of bathed in like a stress hormone or like an environment of aggression that's evoked by like a musical pattern, do you see that
So I
playing out
believe in
differently?
spirits, right? So, and I can get deep, but I think different spirits enter us all the time. There's you got a sexual spirit. You ever just get horny out of the blue?
I think we all do.
That's a dude
You
thing.
got a sexual spirit. No, I think
I don't think so.
I've heard women are
I
worse
don't
than
think so.
guys.
I think
They just know how
I
to
don't
hold it
think
in
it.
better.
I don't think it's just a guy thing. I think we're all horny creatures, and it just becomes inconvenient at times.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think the director's gaggling right now.
But just different. You got an anger demon. Triggers. Triggers is huge. It takes so much energy to hate somebody, and it's almost effortless to love them.
Well, going back to what I said before. I don't think hate happens out of a vacuum, right? Hate is an extreme response to someone you love so much, right? There's a love, there's a balance to it. In my opinion, in order to truly hate someone or hate something, there had to be a love at one point.
Absolutely. You need one to know the other. Absolutely.
So I think what you're describing when you talk about like the tribalism component is more of a distrust than a hate, but that
Absolutely.
distrust can kind of be like nurtured and fostered and maybe grown into something that's similar to hate
Yeah.
if you don't like address like what is the distrust or like
Exactly.
where does it come from?
I think we could talk about that culturally
All
because I
day.
think that's a huge problem now culturally is that one of the reasons why people can't talk to each other is that distrust and that hate, I always call it perceived hatred because again, I don't think hatred comes out. The real hatred, real pure hatred doesn't come out of ignorance. There's a reason for someone to truly hate something. I think distrust comes out of ignorance, right? And that's the ignorance of not being able to understand.
Yeah.
Not
I think
able to conceptualize.
we tried too hard and we overthink the understanding of one thing. And I think a lot of it we forget about the poisons in the food that we put in our body that are helping shape these thoughts, feelings,
Sure.
emotions. The war on food is so big, nobody talks about that.
No, there's just so many things that are happening at the same time. Again, I think it's just information overload. It's like because we have so much information now at the tip of our hands. We have so much information from the people that we talk to, and because of how everything's going in our local political everything, is
Well,
that
it's
there's so much
unresearched too.
information. There's so much information that we as a one person cannot compute all that information and come down to a conclusion, right? Which causes all this vitriol, in my opinion.
Well, I think it causes us to rely on like shortcuts and heuristics, right?
Absolutely.
Right, exactly. TikTok.
Yeah,
TikTok.
Absolutely.
You're right. We can't possibly interpret and like operationalize the amount of information that's available to us. And so often it just becomes I've done my own research sort of.
Right. I see, I got my
scenario.
information off of TikTok, and this is what this TikToker told me.
Well, yeah, somebody can get information off
Check
of
the source.
a
Check the
short
source.
on Facebook and run with that narrative and not know anything about it.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But also not check it because there's no opportunity for any kind of exchange.
Right.
I think that's like an experience that I have with people who grew up as kind of digital natives and mostly as like social media natives more than even digital natives is that I don't interact very readily or easily with things like Instagram or TikTok. Like I
No, me
definitely
either.
consume the content,
Yeah.
but I don't actually share anything. And when I see other people
Sharing
posting,
it.
to me, it's almost always a question of like transmitting but not receiving.
Yeah.
And I like, first of all, I don't know how to do that. I am a very relational person and I value the exchange with somebody. And I don't know how to, nor do I care to sort of curate my shit. So it's up there and it's like transmitted to everyone.
Right.
And yet I'm not receiving anything other than maybe a one-line comment or something like that. That's not meaningful to me. And I think it is meaningful to people who have grown up in that environment.
Right. So
and
she
that's
likes to, sorry,
No, you're
but
fine.
you just touched something.
Something deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't take pictures in, my food or, if I'm out with my wife, they will. But I'll stand off to the side. And then so she's always like, why don't you ever want to get in the pictures? And I go, these memories are mine.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to do with them. And there's people sitting back waiting to pick apart your happiness because they unhappy.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then they'll hate on you, but send you a like. That just don't make any
As they would
Yeah.
say in Friends, they're stealing my wind.
If you can't call me, we're not friends.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a social media friend to
No,
me.
I completely agree with you. And going back to your point too about, people sharing stuff. There's one thing, one of the most important lessons I learned from you, right? And this is
From me?
Yeah, from you.
Wow.
And your class, right? Is knowing your sources. And what I've realized a lot is that people will believe anything they want without going back to the original source.
Oh, yeah.
And even then, you have to even question the original source too, because exactly how you said when I was in your research methods class, is that the research is is a reflection to who is who's who's funding the research.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it comes down to who is funding that research, and that reflects it. It's whoever is shoving the money in is going to actually shape how that research is going to look like.
Clearly. Yeah. And it goes, it has influences in like what questions are being asked, right?
Right.
And so if you're not asking the questions or if you're not looking for answers to those questions, you're going to miss a significant piece of whatever phenomenon.
Exactly.
And yeah. And so the priorities of like what is worth researching or is often like what is economically fruitful to be researching, right?
Exactly.
So I think that we miss a whole lot of context and truth just by not asking the questions that we can answer through research.
Or the question that should be asked, right? This has been a great conversations points. So before we continue, we're going to talk about Saratoga water over here. I know Van is usually the one that does this whole advertisement, but I'm going to do it today because he's gaggling at the moment.
Yeah.
So Saratoga
I don't
water,
gaggle.
he does. The Saratoga water, it's blue, it's gorgeous, and it's from still water from the Saratoga lakes in New York. So please, Saratoga, if you want Van to vibrate high and you don't want this water chunky, you should sponsor us.
Saratoga is spring water. It doesn't come out of a lake.
You see, that's called misinformation.
We are not in a basement right now. There's a couple.
This is the lower level floor.
So again, those of you know me. Spring water means constantly moving. This water is filtered around natural rocks, I believe. Well, when water moves, what does it create?
Friction.
Energy.
Water
holds memory. And if you drinking your water out of a plastic bottle, you dumb in a bitch. So drink water out of a glass bottle. If you have to drink, this is expensive water to be drinking water. Little trick: if you have to drink water out of a bottle, we still love you. Drop a pinch of salt in there, shake it up. Spring water.
Lordy. So there's one more thing that I have on our agenda today that even Van doesn't know.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, last semester, last semester, I made a promise to you.
Oh boy.
And today is the day this promise is going to be fulfilled.
Okay.
So if the director can bring out this promise and bring it to the table, please, that would be wonderful.
Where is this?
Well, it's right behind you.
What kind of music do we need for this?
Oh, you're going to need a lot of music for this. We're going to do something beautiful. I really think you're going to gaggle off of this one.
Okay, I doubt I'll gaggle, but
Well, you'll gaggle.
we'll see.
You'll gaggle, I promise you.
This is fatter than I expected it to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the sluttiest book around, Pucking Around. Yes.
It's hockey?
Oh, it's hockey.
It's
Okay.
hockey fan fiction.
Now, I want to play a low game right now. I want to see how far we can get into reading one small passage until we're going to clock out of reading it.
Pucking around?
Pucking Around.
Oh.
So, Van,
I'll
if you
pass.
want to, you can do it. You don't believe in it?
I don't puck around.
You're gonna...
If you're gonna fuck around, you're gonna find out.
It's
I don't puck around.
Van is calling quits. Would
So,
you like to?
what's the backstory to this?
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening here.
This is hockey smut.
This is hockey smut.
Okay. You a hockey mom?
I'm not a hockey mom.
Oh.
No.
Oh, is this sexual?
Yes. My family does really
okay.
like hockey. We used to live in Detroit, so we're like all kind of Detroit Red Wings fans.
Okay, gotcha.
My husband and my son have like encyclopedic knowledge of
Okay.
hockey. And it's just kind of hockey's enjoyable.
Oh, okay.
I'm not much of a sports watcher, but I do like hockey. But Tyken brought up that there is like smutty hockey fan fiction out there, and the possibility had never crossed my mind that somebody would think hockey was a topic for smut.
Leave it up to Tygan. Yeah, it's gonna be like, oh, he slid down my hard path and nailed me with his rod. Just put it right into my neck. My fur net.
Well, we're about to find out.
No, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading.
Thank you. I really appreciate
That's
this. Do
awesome.
you want me to just choose
Choose
anywhere?
whatever page you want.
No.
Okay.
My wife would
This
love
is an
that
Audible book now.
I glance sharply to the left to see Caleb standing at the boards. He's got his arms crossed, his full tattoo sleeve on display. I was studying it in the truck on the drive in. It's a mess of individual tats that have been woven together with a consistent pattern of ocean waves and geometric honeycombing to make a sleeve effect. The guy he was shouting at skates up to the boards, sliding to a stop. What am I doing wrong, boss? I pop a chip into my mouth and crunch it, watching as Caleb tears into him about his form and puck handling. Do another rep, he says.
Oh, shit.
And try not to suck this time.
Yeah, so I'll not read that.
Okay.
That is awesome.
Here we go. I'm going to turn to a random page and hope it's spicy.
Did you put your kids through hockey?
No.
Oh, okay. Very expensive.
Oh, that's another part-time
Very
job.
expensive.
This mom
Yes.
does not get up at 4 a.m.
I
to
do
go
miss
to
the aces before
Here
you
we go.
start.
Oh, yeah, I miss the
still
aces,
got
too.
my cowbell.
Yep.
I miss Bob. I miss Mark too, but Mark's off today. Bob and Mark from the radio. So Bob was the announcer. Yeah, it sucks that the aces.
Yeah, we really enjoyed going to Aces
Absolutely.
games, but I know my children did not play hockey.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Very
Here we go.
expensive.
Ready?
Oh boy.
He's drooling already.
Okay.
Yeah, a sex demon just entered.
Kiss me, I said it. Say
Oh
again.
my god.
My body with need. The flash of want in Rachel's eyes is quickly replaced with a surprise as they grow wider, darker pools.
Wait, is this lesbian hockey fanfic?
No, it's actually a reverse harrow.
Oh, okay.
Pulls I want to sink inside. What? I caught her off guard. I love that she wasn't expecting this. You asked me what I want, I explained. I want you to kiss me like you die if you don't.
taking the sexy out of it.
Kiss me. And I'll go back in there. Kiss me. And I'll do the scans.
Oh god.
She huffs like she indignates, but I see fire burning inside of her. You're exhorting your doctor for sexual favor, Mars? Not a great look. I'm past caring. We're in the streets, she reasons, gesturing around. I don't care. Well, a kiss to save my life wouldn't be very PG, she added. One dark brow raises as she smiles. Shout me.
Oh my God. Awesome.
Van?
Shout out, shout out for your excerpt. No, I'll pass.
You sure?
Yeah. I don't fuck around.
You did. Yeah.
But
He's
that
going to
is
buy
awesome.
this from from not Starbucks, from Barnes and Nobles. He's going to read
That
it.
is awesome.
He's going to read it every day.
So, did you know that Anchorage actually has a smut bookstore?
Yes, and I'm
I
trying
did
to get this
not.
person on the show.
Okay. So I contract with a group of midwives.
Okay.
And
They read smut books too.
it's like a mother and a couple of her daughters are also midwives. And they were the ones that told me about the bookstore. And they were like, I mean, the bookstore is obviously good for their business, but they were talking about how they were in like a smut book club. And it's like, I could never imagine being in a smut book club with my own mother. Like, no, thank you.
Mom,
Not
please stop. Stop reading, please.
My wife and her, I salute that too. Some families have that kind of relationship. I kind of learned from my wife, her mother and father. Like they were those parents that would fart on one of the kids and everybody sit around and a kid just want to run over and smell what daddy's ass smells like. She has one of those families where they could sit around and have fun with that kind of stuff openly. They talk about sex, the weirdest things. Like the weird. I can tell their dad. Yeah, that's another conversation.
Next podcast.
But it's open and it takes the so I used to walk on eggshells around them, like trying to say the right thing or do the right thing. And they made it so much easier for me to just be myself and be open with things like that, like opposed to like.
And yet you won't read a passage.
No. No, he's going to see this and then we're going to have a conversation about it later.
I've tried to cultivate that kind of openness with my kids, and I think we've done a pretty good job. There are definitely times like they both recommended that I watch Sex Education when it came out. Did you ever watch that show?
I know Sex Education.
Yeah, and so they watched the first couple episodes with me, and then like my son tapped out real quick, and he's like, I don't think I can watch this with my mom. But especially as they've gotten older, like, there are things that they're private about, and that's totally important and cool. But they also have that ease of like being able to talk about things. And sometimes my kids will have to educate me about things that I didn't know about.
Sex Education.
Well, ours came out by mistake, and we talked about that the last episode too. Yeah. My wife, I think, did we talk about that on camera? That was off camera.
Yeah,
that was an off-camera conversation.
I think we should leave it off camera.
Yeah. But it's okay. We recorded. Well, my wife did. When we were younger.
Oh boy, here we go.
We attempted to make a tape, and she recorded over the family vacation tape to Disneyland. And
I'm so sorry.
And the family,
I tried to stop it.
They wanted to watch this tape, and the tape got lost in the box of tapes. And they popped this tape in, and action.
Wow.
So you want to talk about embarrassing? Like her dad started dying laughing.
Did they turn it off, or did they let it play through?
She hopped up and hit the button as quick as she could.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Van's sex tape, and we're here to broadcast it live.
It was an awesome tape. It was she had this staircase that wrapped down like this.
No.
It was almost like this, but we were fucking around.
This is even worse than you're reading a passage right now.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh wow. Okay.
That happened.
Well, on that note, I really appreciate you coming on the show, Sarah. You've been a fabulous host.
Thanks for inviting me.
Here we go. Yeah.
That's too far, but
you went too far there. Yeah, so thank you for coming on the show. We definitely need to have you on again. And is there any last words you want to say to the audience?
No, I'm gonna take my book and disappear now. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I thought, just so you guys know, I thought this was off camera prior to starting the interview. you guys were having a conversation about something I would not be able to engage in. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna be lost in this one. So shout out to the titties.
They bring everyone together.
Titties. They
Shout
bring
out to the
everyone
titties.
together.
It's titty month right now, too.
It
Anyway,
is.
right?
It is.
It
Yes.
is. It is indeed
Shout
titty
out
month.
to the titties.
Get your mammograms.
Get your mammograms.
My wife just dodged another bullet. This was her second bullet.
Wow.
Nice.
Benign.
Good.
Again.
Good.
First, it was a thyroid. We had it removed. This next one, her and her sister, they found lumps. Both benign.
Wow.
Good.
That's
Second
good.
bullet dodged.
I'm glad.
Shout out to the titty.
Yeah.
Well, well, Alaska, keep on babbling. Take care.